Welcome back, everybody. This is the third module of our training or our lesson, and today we will cover loops first, and then after loops, we will move on to list. After we cover list, we check either tuple or set and dictionary. That's what we are going to cover today. And as you can see, I am on Visual Studio Code. And Visual Studio Code is actually one of the best code editor that we use all the time. So I can create the module. So I call it week 3. And then I will create loops.py. In this loops.py file, I will talk about the for loop and while loop. So I will start with a for loop. At the very beginning, what is a loop and what's the purpose? What is a loop and its use case or purpose? A loop is actually to solve a repetitive problem. For instance, if I ask you to print hello world, hello world 100 times. Now, how long does it take? It might, now, for instance, let me try. As you can see, I wrote 1 times. I'll print hello world. As you can see, already inconsistency. Print hello world. I'm already tired. Yeah, and it's boring. It's so tedious, right? Doing the same thing over and over again. Instead, we can solve this with a loop. How can we solve this 100 times? So there should be a way to go 100 times. For that, we use the range built-in function I showed you at some point. What is this? Did you remember how this works? It has the start, the end, and the state, this if you remember. So maybe if I start from 0, and if I want to end at 6, you may turn off your, and if I step by 1, what would be, okay, there's someone making a noise. Please mute your mic. Okay, good. So I think I had this. Let's print this and see the result. As you can see, 0 to 6. Actually, 6 is not inclusive. And if we want to see the list, the number of, the list of number in this range, we can see list. We can again use the same built-in function. List is a built-in function, and we pass this value. And let's see, as you can see, it generates 0 to 5. That's really good. So that means if I copy this, and then if I say, for is a keyword, so it's a reserved word. Python knows for n in this list, and then I can say this 2 dots or the column actually allow us to create a block code, and then I can say n. What I'm trying to do, I'm actually going 1 by 1. Here, 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 and then here. And then I will be printing 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's great. Can I multiply them by themselves? Yeah, of course, we can do anything we want after that. Okay, can I do maybe, how about if I would like to find the cube of each number? As you can see, 0, 1, yeah, 5, 25, 125. Oh, then instead, how about if I just, without also changing it to a list, I can just use range 0, 6, 1. And then let's see, it gives me the same result. But if we have the plan to start from 0, and if the step is actually 1, we don't have to just add those. By default, the starting is 0 and the step is this. And this gives me, again, the same result. And we call this for loop. Yeah, so let's solve different problems with for loop. Now, for instance, how about if I want to generate some number, or maybe sending this or printing this 100 times. So if I want to print that 100 times, I can go up to 100, and then I can say actually I can leave that as it was. Now for n or I in range, and then I can say 100. So, by the way, this starts from 0 and it goes up to 99. It's not inclusive. Then I can say print hello world. With this, I can just print 100 times. Yeah, we did already, as you can see. So printing this hello world 100 times is so boring, so tedious, and it takes also time, but with for loop, we managed to actually solve this problem so easily. Yeah, I think that's the purpose of for loop. Maybe also to check if something exists or not. For instance, I have a list of nums, something means some list in a nums. Okay, and let's say I have this 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, minus 5, 8, and then 10 again. For instance, if I want to look for a negative number, or if I should check if negative number exists in this list, I can say for num in nums. I can say if num is less than 0, no, that's not less than, that's greater than, then I can say print the number, that number. Let's see. And actually printing from this, it's too much, so I have to comment this out. 100 times is really long. As you can see, minus 5 exists, so there's minus 5. So I can say print there a negative number and negative number exists in the list. And I can just num. Let's see. Great. So we managed to actually get. But after that, this loop also continues, you know? What is, if our plan is just to check if a negative number exists or not, if we know it exists at this point, what's the need to go to here? No need, right? So I think what we should do, we can actually use a break. Maybe I will show you. Print num. I think, as you can see, it is like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 minus 5. So at this point, the negative was found, but our loop continued. So it's sometimes no need to continue if we found actually what we want. So what we should use actually is break. When we found what we want, then we can break at that point. And then let's see this result, by the way. But as you can see in this case, at minus 5, the loop has broken. So it didn't go to 8 and 10. How about sometimes ignoring the minus, and if we want to print out only the positive number? And in this case, we can use the same loop, and I will show you. Then what we should do, print and we don't have to even print here, and then we say continue. So what we are doing actually, we are printing every number, but when it's less than 0, we skip. The continue is actually, it skip that value and continue to the next. And let's see the result now. I will show you 3, 4. Yeah, no, I should print it after here. In that case, the printing should be a bit different, you know? Yeah, something like this. Yeah, as you can see, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7, but you don't see -5 here. So remember, break is actually to break the loop. It just stopped the loop. Continue to skip a value, just certain value from the loop. Yeah, that is for loop. Maybe sometimes if I want to have to check something, for instance, names of my student, names, I can create the names I see, Alexa, Alexandra, and I may have Elena, and I may have actually Jermis, and I may have Max, and I may have Niken, and I may have a Star Ish, and I may have and okay. Now I have a list of names, as you can see. Yeah, of course, to know the number of names I have, it's the list, just names. And if I wrote properly, 11. I forgot one of the person from the list. I don't know which one. Yes, now I can see the name that I didn't write actually. No. Yeah, and the other person is just myself. So I have actually 12 people. So I can say the number of students here, and I can print out like that. Okay, then actually, instead names, I can say, I can call them students, right? Remember, whenever you give actually a variable name, a very descriptive. So what are these names? Names, not that they are just random names. Actually, they are Python students. Then when I do a for loop, student in students, as you can see now, I'm about to iterate to take out each student from students. For student in students, hey, print the student, one of the student, one by one. Yeah, as you can see, I have all my students printed out over here from Alexandra to Christina. Okay, now let's just find some kind of technique. Then maybe if I want to filter out maybe someone names that start with or for students in student, maybe I can check maybe who has the shortest name. Okay, let's check. If a student got length, not like that. Now I'm mixing JavaScript. Student less than or equal to 4 character, then print, I can say, the name. I can print the name of that person. So the student. Let's see who got that. Huh? What am I doing? I didn't print anything. Less than or equal to 4. No, we don't have that person. Links of student.
The student is written wrong on the line 47.
Oh yeah, thank you. I love that kind of debugging. Thank you. Oh yes. As you can see, only max, and maybe let's make this a bit, 5. So as you can see, Elena, Max, Nikin, Stais, Manka, and Irina got short names. Yeah, maybe if you want to modify this, we can say, do you remember the F string that we love the most? Yeah, F string. And then we can say this, inject the data like this, has got short names. Yeah, Elena has got short names, I think. Something. Yeah. Maybe I think it need a kind of article. Yeah. Here. Great. Oh, so as you can see, it's something like that. And maybe let's also check some pattern here. Names that starts with A. Let's check. Most of the time names start with A, but in this case, it's students in, no, sorry, in student if what was, yeah, student starts with A. Print that name. At least we should be getting Alexandra. Oh, yes, Alexandra and Armand, they start with the letter A. Now, that's good. And maybe that ends with something. Let's check some pattern. Okay. Okay. For instance, that ends with Ina. Okay, let's check for that. For student in students, if students ends with, do you remember this? We learned this string methods weeks ago. Huh? And now we should get actually Irina, Christina. So if you want to just format it, F string, maybe and with Ina. Yeah, great. This is for loop. But if we want more exercise, actually what we should do, we have to go to this. And then we have this 30 days of Python data. And maybe how about if we deal with countries, this one, and then I can just copy this and take it somewhere. I can paste it somewhere or import it somewhere, but you don't know how to import. And then I don't want to confuse you by just importing this. So I just paste it here. No need this one. And as you can see, I have a list of countries from Afghanistan to Zimbabwe. I think it's about 197 countries. Yeah, so now if you want to look through this for C in countries, then print C. But I am saying C. It's not a very good practice to use just such kind of abbreviation, so avoid that. I'm doing deliberately just to show you that people most commonly do such kind of like abbreviation that doesn't make any sense or describe what you're doing. So now, but this one, country from countries, actually the country is getting the one item from the countries list. And if you print this, oh yeah. Now, if I want just change the country to uppercase, just you can do something like that. Oh yeah. And then maybe if I want to actually split the country code, for instance, for Zambia, ZAM, for Zimbabwe, ZIM, and for Finland, FIAN. So we can do first country.paper, and then after that we can split up to the third character. Let's see. As you can see, yeah, maybe I think we are sure for Finland is Fin, and let's go all the way up somewhere. I don't know. I think it's since this data is alphabetical, so Finland, I have country code. Yes, ETH, Ethiopia, Fiji, Estonia, SD. Yeah, that's great. And now let's look for countries that has actually land. For country, in countries, if country, maybe I think this land in country. So this is a membership operation. If you remember when we learned about this comparison operator and logical operator, we have seen also this membership operator. Land in country, then we can say print the country. Let's see. Why? Oh, yeah, actually I printed it out. As you can see, Finland, Iceland. Yeah, maybe we can comment this out and we don't have to be. Oh yeah, now as you can see, Finland, Iceland, Ireland, Marshall Islands, Netherlands, and New Zealand, Poland, Solomon Islands, and Swaziland, and Switzerland, and Thailand. These are the countries with land. The rest of the world do not have land. Sorry for that. Yeah, I think if we do this match, that's good enough. But I want to show you something. The last example. Sometimes it is easy for you now. I can say I in range up to 11. This allows you to print actually from 0 to 10, right? From 0 to 10. Have you seen? From 0 to 10. Maybe if I want to start from 1, I can say here from 1 to 10. 1 to 10, that's great. And if you want to also actually create even numbers or odd numbers, maybe let's start with odd numbers. You just increment by 2, 1, 3, something like that. As you can see, I managed to create odd numbers. If you want to create odd numbers up to 100, and you can see something like this. All these are odd numbers. If you want to make them even numbers, you can just start from 0, because even numbers start from 0, as you can see. That's beautiful, yeah? And something that I want to show you, how about if I want to actually print from 0 to 10 instead of 0 to 10, 10 to 0, the other way. So what you should do, you should start from 10, right? And then you should go all the way to -1, but it's not inclusive. And we should increment or decrement. Well, I have to decrement by 1. That's the step. And this will allow me to print from 10 to 0. Let's see. Yeah, 10 to 0. So the other side, so the other way. I'm printing the values in other way. I think this is all about for loop, and in the second part we will see actually while loop. I think it's better if we continue while loop also here instead of making a different session. So let's create maybe a separate page while loop. Is everything clear, guys? Before I move on, do you have any question about loops? Okay, While loop is something that allow us just to go on and on. So because it just go indefinitely, but with this for loop is like, for instance, this we know we gave it 10 times, it just go 10 or 11 times. So when we know the length, how much to iterate, we use for loop. And when we use, when we don't know how many times to iterate, we go for a while loop. And okay, now while loop. Let's see the structure. For instance, usually we start with I, so the initial, this is the initial, and then while I is less than 11, print I, and after you print, we should increment I by 1. And this allows us actually to print from 0 to 10. Yeah, let's see. Have you seen? From 0 to 10. If I want to print up to 100, so I have to do something like this. And this allows me to create 0 to 100. But if I want to create, for instance, odd numbers, I want to start from 1 and I want to increment by 2. And this will allow me to create odd numbers from 1 to 100. As you can see, all the odd numbers, 1, 3, something like that. And if you want to make it also even numbers, you should start from 0, something like this. Can we use continue or something? Yes, we can also continue and break here. Maybe I will show you some use case, for instance. I hope you know this, but the input method. Okay, let's go up to 10. You remember the input built-in function. Enter a name and enter name. So this is going to take name, but if you enter the instructor's name, it should stop. Just it takes student's name. Enter student's name. Should enter student's name. While true, true should be uppercase. Then actually I have to just print this also here. While true, just get this name. And if name is different from Asarena, yeah, but I think instead I can just, if name is Asarena, I can say break. Otherwise, it just print the name. Print the name of the student. I can say F string, the name of the student is name. Let's try this. As you can see, while means just universally true or all the time true, but there is one case. That exception is actually if the name is actually my name, it will break. Let's see. Now I will just print names of the student. I can say Elena. Now I think it would have been great if we have some just space in here, something like this. Now I can write again. Elena, of course, Elena, name of the student is Elena, and then maybe again, Irina and Staish, and yeah, but as you can see, it better. So if we return this something else, for instance, this is not a student or something, I can say print here the same thing. I will show you. Before we break, we have to show that message. the name of the student. This is not a student, I can say. Or maybe name. Yeah, let's try this again. Elena, Dorina. Yeah, good. Do you see the use case now? We managed to actually make use of while loop just to develop some small application. Or maybe we can also do guessing game, a guessing game. So maybe I will ask you to build a guessing game with the while. So what does the guessing game means? For instance, you may think of a number. Okay, let's think of a number, maybe 95. And when the computer asks you then the number to guess, you give a number. For instance, I give 90, and then since 90 is less than the number, so it should say the number is small or smaller than my number. If you give a number that's more than 95, if you give 100, your number is bigger than the number in mind. Can I solve this, or do you want to solve it at some point? Okay, let's just solve it this, and at some point we will enhance this, okay? I call it guessing game, okay? So now we wrote a kind of a pseudocode here. You know the scenario. So first you have to collect a number from the user. So with what? Input, enter a number. But remember, a number should be an integer, so we have to change it to int or cast it, changing it, because anything we get from input is actually a string. And then what we should do, while true means just let's make it this all the time true, and continuously ask the user to put a number. Then, of course, we have to actually put our number somewhere. Okay, let's say our number or the computer number, num, let's say 95. I told you it's 95, yeah? If num is actually is equal to, if num is equal to num, we should print. We can just congratulate you won. Okay. And it should be otherwise, elif num is actually less than if num is greater than num, we should say your number is lower than my number. Yeah. And elif num is less than num, print your number greater than my number. And the last else print something wrong happened. Yeah, something breaks, so it just goes this down. Now let's try this, by the way, but maybe I have to. So I said while true, when everything is just like you just get into a loop that never stops, And then this stops only when actually you get that desired number, 95. Unless otherwise, it just asks you now and then. Let's see. Oh, no, it will, what, this? We should just turn off this one because it will be hard for us just to. And again, I have to put a colon and a space. Okay, I can run this again now. Maybe how about if I give 10? Your number is lower than my number. Okay, how about if I give 100? Your number is greater than my number. Okay, how about 90? Your number is lower than my number. Okay, how about 96? Your number is greater than my number. Okay, how about 94? Your number is lower than my number. And then it should be 95. You won. Yes, I won actually. And then maybe, yeah, maybe just you can decorate this somehow. And congratulations, and something like this. Yeah, you know, you can do anything you want, you know, here, and then something like this. And I can also actually just change this also, maybe 55, and let's run this once more. Enter a number? Maybe I can say 5. Your number is lower than my number. Maybe I can say 50, lower, and then 60, greater than, and 55. Congratulations, you won. Yeah, that's good. Maybe now I have seen you. I showed you how to print numbers more in an incremental way. How about if you want in more decremental way? I can turn this off by commenting everything. So you have seen that you can start counting from 0, and it's not JavaScript, while I is less than 6, and print I, and then you can, no, actually the increment I is equal to plus 1, and then let's see. As you can see, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But how about if I want to print 5 to 0 the other way? So I should start from 5, and then I should say while I is actually greater than 0, and then instead this one, I have to decrement all the time. And let's see, I think that's good enough already. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So it's better if I say I is greater than or equal to. Now, as you can see, I managed to print 5 to 0. I think this is what you may need for loop. So what we have covered in this lesson, we have learned about for loop, and for loop, you need the length of the iteration. So for instance, to iterate this one, we go through all the countries and print it out. But for while loop, we never know how long to run. Of course, for this one, it's clear, but in this case, for instance, we are not sure. Someone might try many times. Yeah, so we need while. Yeah, in this case, for instance, you may enter many names before you enter my name here. So when you have an unknown number of iteration, you use while loop. For a known number of iteration, you use for loop. Yeah, I think this is what you need for Python loops.